Hey, what's good, y'all? It's Stinger, and oh, sorry, sorry. There's something on my chest. I didn't even notice that was there. It's pretty pog, huh? Pretty swag, pretty based. Am I relatable yet? Anyway, today I'm going to be going over how to make some ethnic loops that sound like they are straight out of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and they sound a little something like this. Now, this is definitely one of my favorite loops that I've made in a while, so I'm super excited to break this down. So the first thing I laid down was the Romance d'Amour patch from Ample Guitar Luther. This is an amazing acoustic guitar plugin that I like to use a lot when it comes to ethnic and Spanish guitar melodies. All right, so here's the melody that I laid out. I'll just play it and then break it down piece by piece. Alright, so as always with my melodies, I started off with a bass line, and this bass line is going from the 1 to the 5, back to the 1 to the 6. For any kind of ethnic or Spanish guitar melodies, I recommend using the minor harmonic scale because the way the chords resolve in that scale are super eerie and suspenseful. So I just love using that when it comes to these types of beats. Alright, once I had that bass line laid out, I threw some chords on top of them. For all these chords, I just use octaves, which are chords in which the bass note is just thrown up 1 octave. I don't like using 7th or 9th chords because they sound too melodic and happy at times, and I really wanted to keep this dark, eerie, and suspenseful. There's nothing much that I really need to go over here. It's all pretty basic, so let's move into the next step. Alright, so the next thing I did is I dispersed some of the notes of the chords to give it more rhythm. So this is what that sounds like. As you can see, all the chords are following the same rhythm, and I did this just because I didn't want it to be too sporadic. I wanted the listeners to be able to anticipate what was coming next and feel gratified by correctly anticipating it. Because I know as a music producer, I do that a lot with songs, and if I correctly guess what's coming next in the song, for some reason it makes me like it more. I don't know if that's just me or if it applies to any other people who listen to music, but hey, I thought I'd throw it in there just in case if that's a majority of people. Also for this, you may have noticed that I decided to branch off from the notes of the chords. Like these off-note rhythmic notes are all the 4th of the chord instead of just, you know, aligning with the basic triad and the octave. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's move into the final rendition of the melody. All right, so here's the final product of the melody. As you can see, we have our rhythmic chords from before, but we added in some accent notes here and there. When adding in accent notes, I recommend using triplets because that's very prevalent when it comes to flamenco Spanish style guitars. I also recommend using tension notes, which are notes that are 1 note away from each other in the scale. If you've watched my tutorials before, you know that this is the only thing that comes out of my mouth when I'm making tutorials, but tension notes are great for building suspense and adding to a dark or sinister feeling in a melody. So that being said, yet again, here is the final rendition of the guitar. Alright, so now let's move into the next portion of the melody, being this brass from BBC Symphonic Orchestra. I just have this playing the 5th of the chords within the octaves, and in order to get the 5th of your chords, all you're going to do is take your bass line and pitch it up by 7 semitones. Sometimes if you're working with odd transition notes, they won't be in key, but you'll just have to adjust those as they come. So with that being said, this is what the horns sound like. Next thing I threw down was a pad from Omnisphere, being the Agape Warmth pad. This is by far my favorite pad in Omnisphere just because of the nice harmonics it gives the chords. You'll see what I mean. So I just have these playing the original chords we started out with, and this is what it sounds like. As you can see, it's almost like the pad is arpeggiated in a way because it plays some extra accent notes here and there. The next thing I threw down was this arpeggiated piano from Analog Lab 5, being the Mystic Piano. All I did for this was I grabbed the chords that I wanted to work with, selected them all using Control A, and then hit Alt A to pull up the arpeggiator. From there, I just adjusted the time and the pattern depending on how I wanted it to sound. So here is what that sounds like. Now, I felt like that was a little bit too fast-paced and sporadic, so I just added on gross beat on the half-speed preset, and this is what it sounds like now. And next we have the component that seals the deal for this melody, being the Celestial Chants from Arcade. This is what really brings together that Assassin's Creed Odyssey vibe, because the vocals in this are mostly throat singing, which is something that is very prevalent in the soundtrack of that game. So with that being said, here is what the vocals sound like. These vocals are by far my favorite part of the melody, and what's great about Arcade is that the vocals are already pre-computed with effects within the plugin. So all I needed to do was throw on an EQ and a reverb, and then boom, I was set. And last but not least for the melody is this sub bass just playing the root notes. Alright, so now that we've covered every single aspect of the melody, this is what it sounds like all together. So that is going to pretty much cover how to make ethnic melodies that sound like they are right out of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Hopefully you learned something new today and enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments down below and I will do my very best to answer them. Also consider subscribing as I post 4 tutorials every single week, 2 long ones and 2 short ones. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.